My dad always chose my stepbrother over me. When he tried to ruin my wedding, I stood my ground and uncovered a web of lies that shocked everyone. I never thought I'd be sharing my family drama on Reddit, but here I am, feeling lost and hurt. I'm Nicole, 28F, and I've always been the odd one out in my family. Growing up in a small town in Ohio, it was just me, my mom Odette, 54F, and my dad Mark, 56M. We weren't rich, but we were happy. I have fond memories of Sunday picnics in the park, dad teaching me how to ride a bike, and mom cheering at my school plays. Everything changed when I turned 14. I came home from school one day to find my parents sitting at the kitchen table, their faces grim. They told me they were getting a divorce. It felt like my world was crumbling. The next few months were a blur of arguments, tears, and packing boxes. In the end, I ended up living with my mom in our old house, while dad moved to an apartment across town. Dad didn't stay single for long. Within 6 months, he was dating Diane, 50F, a woman he met at his new job. Diane had a son, Tommy, 27M, from a previous marriage. I remember the day Dad introduced us. Tommy seemed nice enough, but there was something in his eyes that made me uneasy. Still, I was excited about the prospect of having a stepbrother. As Dad and Diane's relationship progressed, I saw less and less of him. Our weekly father-daughter dinners became monthly, then bi-monthly. When I did see him, Tommy was always there, monopolizing Dad's attention. I tried to connect with Tommy, inviting him to hang out or watch movies, but he always had an excuse. Things came to a head at Dad and Diane's wedding. I was 16, and Dad asked me to be a bridesmaid. I was thrilled, thinking this was a chance for us to reconnect. The day of the wedding, I arrived early to help set up. As I was arranging flowers, I overheard Tommy talking to his friend. "Yeah, it sucks that Nicole's here," he said. "I was hoping it would just be us, you know? A real family." His words stung, but I tried to brush them off. During the reception, I waited for my father-daughter dance with Dad, a tradition we'd always talked about. But when the time came, Dad was nowhere to be found. I finally spotted him outside, consoling a crying Tommy. Apparently, Tommy was upset about his biological father not attending the wedding. I stood there, in my bridesmaid dress, watching my dad comfort my stepbrother while I faded into the background. After the wedding, my relationship with Dad became even more strained. He'd cancel our plans last minute, always with an excuse related to Tommy. My high school graduation was a particularly painful memory. Dad arrived halfway through the ceremony, missing my valedictorian speech. He later explained that he was late because he was helping Tommy with his college applications. Despite the family drama, I worked hard in school and got accepted into a prestigious journalism program at NYU. I was over the moon and couldn't wait to share the news with Dad. I called him immediately, but he seemed distracted. "That's great, honey," he said, his voice muffled. "Listen, I've got to go. Tommy's got a big soccer match and I promised I'd take him." He hung up before I could say anything else. Throughout college, I tried to maintain a relationship with Dad, but it felt increasingly one-sided. He'd forget my birthday, then send a belated card with a generic message. Meanwhile, social media was flooded with pictures of him and Tommy at sports events, on fishing trips, and at family gatherings I wasn't invited to. The final straw came during my junior year of college. I had landed an internship at a major news network in New York. It was a huge opportunity, and I was ecstatic. The night before I was supposed to fly out, I got into a minor car accident. I wasn't seriously hurt, but I was shaken up and needed someone to pick me up from the hospital. I called Dad, hoping he'd come. "I'm sorry, sweetheart," he said. "Tommy has a big date tonight and needs help getting ready. Can't your mom pick you up?" I was devastated. It felt like I'd never be a priority in my dad's life. After that, I distanced myself from him. I focused on my studies and my career, determined to make something of myself without his support. I graduated with honors and landed a job at a respected newspaper in Chicago. It was in Chicago that I met Alex, 30M. We were set up on a blind date by mutual friends, and I was immediately drawn to his kind eyes and easy laugh. On our first date, we talked for hours about our dreams, our fears, and our families. I found myself opening up about my complicated relationship with my dad, something I rarely discussed with anyone. Alex was supportive and understanding. He came from a close-knit family and couldn't imagine the pain I'd been through, but he never judged me for it. As our relationship grew, he encouraged me to try reconnecting with my dad, but he also respected my boundaries when I wasn't ready. After 3 years together, Alex proposed. It was a perfect moment, a surprise picnic in the park where we had our first date, with all our friends hiding nearby to celebrate with us afterward. I was on cloud nine as we started planning our wedding. We set the date for October 15, 2024, a beautiful Saturday in autumn. We sent out save the dates to all our family members, including my dad and his family. I was nervous about inviting them, but Alex encouraged me to extend an olive branch. Everything was going smoothly until I got a call from my stepsister-in-law, Emma, 25F, who had married Tommy last year. She excitedly told me that she and Tommy were expecting their first child and were planning a gender reveal party. My heart sank when she mentioned the date, October 15, 2024. I couldn't believe it. Of all the days they could have chosen, they picked my wedding day. I tried to explain to Emma that it was my wedding date, but she brushed it off, saying it was just a coincidence, and that they couldn't change it because they had already booked the venue. Confused and hurt, I called my dad to talk about the situation. His response left me speechless. "Nicole, honey, you need to understand that this is a big moment for Tommy and Emma. It's their first child. Can't you just move your wedding? It's not like you can't get married another day." I was stunned. My own father was asking me to change my wedding date to accommodate my stepbrother's gender reveal party. When I refused, he got angry, accusing me of being selfish and not considering the family's needs. The situation has spiraled out of control. My stepmom is calling me daily, trying to guilt me into changing the date. Tommy and Emma are posting passive-aggressive comments on social media about people who don't support family. Even some of my extended family members are taking their side, saying I should be more understanding. Alex is furious with how my family is treating me and wants me to cut ties with them altogether. Part of me feels like he's right, but another part is afraid of losing my family completely. I don't know what to do. Should I stand my ground and keep my wedding date, risking a permanent rift in the family? Or should I give in and change the date, even though it feels like I'm once again being pushed aside for Tommy? Any advice would be greatly appreciated. Update 1. It's been a few weeks since my last post, and I want to thank everyone for their support and advice. Your words have been a source of strength during this difficult time. After much soul-searching and long talks with Alex, I decided to stand my ground and keep my wedding date. I realized that constantly giving in to my family's demands wasn't healthy, and I needed to prioritize my own happiness for once. I called my dad to inform him of my decision. To say he didn't take it well would be an understatement. He yelled at me, saying I was tearing the family apart and that I'd regret this decision. When I tried to explain how I felt, he interrupted me and said, "You've always been jealous of Tommy. Can't you see how important this is for him?" That comment hit me hard. It brought back memories of all the times I'd felt second best, all the events Dad had missed, all the times Tommy's needs had come before mine. I ended the call, feeling a mix of sadness and anger. The next day, I received a barrage of messages from Tommy, Emma, and my stepmom. They were all along the same lines: how selfish I was, how I was ruining their special day, and how I should be ashamed of myself. I didn't respond to any of them, needing time to process everything. A few days later, I got an unexpected call from my mom. She had heard about the situation from my aunt and wanted to check on me. As I explained everything to her, she revealed something that shocked me to my core. Apparently, this wasn't the first time Tommy and his family had pulled something like this. My mom told me that when I got accepted into the journalism program at NYU, Tommy had suddenly announced that he was changing his major to journalism too. This was why my dad had seemed so distracted when I called him with the news. He was already celebrating Tommy's decision. She also revealed that the night of my car accident in college, when Dad couldn't come because Tommy had a big date, it wasn't true. In reality, Tommy had gotten into some trouble with the law. Apparently, he had been caught shoplifting at a local mall. Dad was at the police station with him, trying to smooth things over. I was stunned. All these years, I had been giving my dad and Tommy the benefit of the doubt, believing their excuses and explanations. But now, it seemed like there was a pattern of behavior that I had been blind to. My mom went on to share more incidents that I hadn't known about. Like the time I won a statewide essay contest in high school, and Dad missed the award ceremony because Tommy had supposedly sprained his ankle at soccer practice. In reality, Tommy had been perfectly fine and Dad had simply forgotten about my event. Or the time during my college graduation when Dad left immediately after the ceremony, saying he had to get back for Tommy's end-of-year football banquet. Mom later found out that the banquet had been the night before. Each revelation felt like a fresh wound. I had spent years doubting myself, wondering if I was overreacting or being too sensitive. Now, I realized that my feelings had been valid all along. With this new information, I decided to confront my dad. I called him and laid out everything I had learned. I expected him to deny it or make excuses, but his response surprised me. He broke down and admitted that he had always favored Tommy because he felt guilty about not being there for him when he was younger, before marrying my stepmom. He confessed that he had been trying to make up for lost time with Tommy, but in doing so, he had neglected me. He apologized profusely, saying he had never meant to hurt me and that he had convinced himself that I was strong enough to handle it. "I saw how well you were doing in school, how independent you were," he said, his voice choked with emotion. "I told myself you didn't need me as much as Tommy did. I see now how wrong I was." While part of me appreciated his honesty, another part felt angry that it had taken this long for him to acknowledge his behavior. I told him I needed time to process everything and that I wasn't sure if I wanted him at my wedding anymore. As for Tommy and Emma's gender reveal party, I learned through the grapevine that they had to change the date because the venue double-booked them. Ironically, they're now upset that some family members can't make it to their new date because they've already RSVP'd to my wedding. Right now, I'm focusing on my wedding planning and trying to surround myself with positive people. Alex has been incredibly supportive through all of this, reminding me that I deserve to be happy and celebrated. I'm still unsure about how to proceed with my family relationships, especially with my dad. Part of me wants to give him a chance to make amends, but another part feels like too much damage has been done. I'll keep you all updated on how things progress. Again, thank you all for your support and advice. It's been invaluable during this difficult time. Update 2. It's been a roller coaster of emotions since my last update, and I have some surprising news to share. A week after my confrontation with Dad, I received an unexpected visitor, my stepsister-in-law, Emma. She showed up at my apartment, looking nervous and upset. At first, I was wary, thinking she was there to argue about the wedding date again. But what she told me left me speechless. Emma confessed that she had overheard a conversation between Tommy and my dad that revealed some shocking truths. Apparently, Tommy had been manipulating situations for years to drive a wedge between me and my dad. The gender reveal party scheduled on my wedding day? It was Tommy's idea, and there wasn't even a baby. Emma admitted that they had been struggling with infertility and Tommy had convinced her to go along with a fake pregnancy to get attention from the family. But it didn't stop there. Emma revealed that many of the incidents where Tommy needed Dad's help, including the night of my car accident, were orchestrated by Tommy to ensure Dad would choose him over me. She showed me text messages between her and Tommy that corroborated her story. One message from Tommy read, "Dad's going to Nicole's graduation tomorrow. We need to come up with something to keep him here. Any ideas?" Another said, "Nicole got that internship in New York. Time to play up the troubled kid act again. Dad can't resist trying to save me." I was stunned. All these years, I had believed I was the problem, that I wasn't good enough for my dad's attention. Finding out it was all a deliberate ploy by Tommy was overwhelming. Emma broke down in tears, apologizing for her part in the deception. She explained that she had gone along with Tommy's schemes because she was afraid of losing him, but she couldn't live with the guilt anymore, especially after seeing how it had affected me. "I always thought Tommy was just insecure," Emma said between sobs. "I never realized how far he was willing to go to keep your dad's attention. When he suggested faking a pregnancy, I knew things had gone too far. I couldn't be part of hurting you anymore. I didn't know how to feel. On one hand, I was angry at the years of manipulation and hurt. On the other, I felt a strange sense of relief knowing that my suspicions of being treated unfairly weren't just in my head." After Emma left, I called my dad. It was a difficult conversation, to say the least. I told him everything Emma had revealed, and at first, he didn't believe me. But as I shared the evidence Emma had provided, he grew quiet. Finally, he spoke, his voice breaking. He admitted that he had noticed some inconsistencies in Tommy's behavior over the years but had chosen to ignore them because he didn't want to believe Tommy would do something like that. He apologized profusely, acknowledging that his willful blindness had caused me immense pain. For the first time in years, I felt like my dad was truly seeing me. He asked if he could come over to talk in person, and I agreed. Our face-to-face conversation was emotionally charged. We talked for hours, addressing years of hurt and misunderstandings. Dad took full responsibility for his actions, acknowledging that regardless of Tommy's manipulations, he should have been a better father to me. "I failed you, Nicole," he said, tears in his eyes. "I got so caught up in trying to be a good father to Tommy that I forgot I already had a daughter who needed me. I can't change the past, but I want to do better if you'll let me." As for Tommy, Dad assured me that he would be confronting him about his actions. He also said that he would support whatever decision I made regarding my relationship with Tommy going forward. I'm still processing everything that's happened. The revelation about Tommy's manipulations has forced me to reevaluate my entire family dynamic. I've decided to postpone any decisions about family relationships until after the wedding. Right now, I need to focus on the positive, marrying Alex and starting our life together. Dad has asked if he can still walk me down the aisle. I'm considering it, but I've made it clear that it depends on his actions in the coming months. I need to see consistent effort and change from him. As for Tommy and Emma, I've decided to go no contact for now. Emma's confession, while appreciated, doesn't erase years of pain and deception. I need time and space to heal. This whole experience has been eye-opening and painful, but it's also given me a chance to rebuild my relationship with my dad on more honest terms. I'm cautiously optimistic about the future, but I'm also prepared to protect my own well-being if necessary. Thank you all for your continued support. Your advice and encouragement have been a lifeline during this tumultuous time. Update 3. It's been 6 months since my last update, and a lot has changed. I wanted to share how things have unfolded and where I stand now with my family. First, the wedding was beautiful. After much soul-searching and long conversations with Alex, I decided to let my dad walk me down the aisle. It wasn't an easy decision, but I felt it was a step towards healing our relationship. The moment was emotional for both of us, and I could see genuine remorse and love in his eyes. As we walked, Dad whispered, "I'm so proud of you, Nicole. I'm sorry it took me so long to see what an amazing woman you've become." It wasn't a magical fix for all our problems, but it felt like a new beginning. The ceremony was intimate and perfect. Alex and I exchanged vows we'd written ourselves, and there wasn't a dry eye in the house. During the reception, I was surprised to see how many people from my past had come to support us. My old high school teacher who'd encouraged my writing, college friends I hadn't seen in years, and even my first boss from the newspaper in Chicago. Their presence reminded me of all the people who had believed in me when my own family hadn't. As for Tommy, true to his word, my dad confronted him about his manipulative behavior. Tommy initially denied everything, but when faced with the evidence Emma had provided, he broke down. Dad gave him an ultimatum: seek professional help for his behavior or be cut off from the family. To everyone's surprise, Tommy agreed to get help. He's been seeing a therapist regularly and, according to my dad, has been making progress in understanding the root of his actions. Emma decided to stay with him, on the condition that he continues therapy and works on their relationship. I've maintained my distance from Tommy and Emma, but I did receive a lengthy letter from Tommy a few months ago. In it, he took full responsibility for his actions, apologized sincerely, and explained that he was working hard to change. He wrote about his insecurities and how he had convinced himself that the only way to keep Dad's love was to push me away. He said he understood if I never wanted a relationship with him but hoped that someday I might give him a chance to make amends. I appreciated the letter but told him I needed more time. The wounds are still fresh, and trust isn't easily rebuilt. I'm not sure if I'll ever be ready to have a relationship with Tommy, but I'm no longer carrying the anger I once did. My relationship with my dad has been a work in progress. We've been having regular dinners, just the two of us, where we talk openly about our feelings and experiences. He's been making a concerted effort to be present in my life, showing up to important events and calling regularly just to check in. One particularly touching moment was when he surprised me by creating a scrapbook of all my achievements that he had missed or downplayed over the years. He had collected newspaper clippings, awards, and photos from my mom and friends. It was his way of showing that he recognized and was proud of all I had accomplished. As we flipped through the pages together, we both shed tears, for the lost years and for the hope of a better future. As for my mom, this whole experience has brought us closer. She's been an incredible support system throughout this journey, offering wisdom and comfort when I needed it most. She's also been encouraging about my attempts to rebuild my relationship with Dad, showing a grace and forgiveness that I'm still working towards. Alex and I are settling into married life and focusing on our future. This experience has made our bond even stronger, and I'm grateful every day for his unwavering support. We're talking about starting a family of our own soon, and these experiences have made us both committed to breaking the cycle and being the best parents we can be. Looking back, I realize how much I've grown through this ordeal. I've learned to stand up for myself, to set boundaries, and to value my own worth regardless of others' actions. While the road to healing is long, I feel like I'm finally on the right path. To everyone who has followed my story and offered advice and support, thank you. Your words have been a source of strength and clarity during the most challenging times. While my family situation is far from perfect, I feel more at peace with where things stand now. Life is unpredictable, and family dynamics are complex. But I'm hopeful for the future and committed to maintaining the boundaries and self-respect I've worked hard to establish. Here's to new beginnings and healthier relationships.